Back in October, we had the opportunity to be interviewed by NerdWallet to discuss the options for property co-ownership with non-significant others. And what are the advantages, disadvantages? What are some things that we should be paying close attention to, whether it be from the legal arrangement or from the financing perspective? On this week's episode, I want to take a look at the conversation, discuss some of the pros and the cons when it comes to co-ownership and what you should be paying attention to if this is something that maybe you and someone else are looking at, as this particular product seems to be gaining popularity. Welcome back. It's Friday, Finance Fridays, and I'm your host, Anthony with In Touch Mortgage Solutions. And on this week's episode, we're going to discuss the key to successful property co-ownership. Now, over the past little while, we've definitely seen an uptick in co-ownership. This idea of getting into a property to save on rent or purchase a property to build equity together to help individuals down the road when life changes, and taking that equity to purchase their own properties when they're eligible. In the quest to tackle the challenges of the housing market, an increasing number of Canadians are turning to non-marital co-ownership as a solution to overcome hurdles like these soaring home prices that we're seeing, restrictive interest rates, qualification, and more importantly, some of these limited housing supplies, which often make it difficult for prospective homebuyers to afford a home in general. Now, according to a recent survey conducted by Royal LePage, a well-known real estate brokerage, approximately 6% of Canadian homeowners, totaling around 1.6 million individuals, are now emerging or engaging in property co-ownership with partners other than their significant others. Now, moreover, 30% of the company's agents had reported an increase in non-marital co-ownership compared to pre-pandemic levels, obviously in correlation with higher home prices and recently more higher interest rates, which are challenging individual qualifications. Now, the logic behind co-ownership is viable. The concept of property co-ownership makes sense. More buyers means more suitable down payment and pooling of multiple incomes, which in theory simplifies the mortgage transaction for borrowers and reduces the risk to lenders, right? More income, more down payment, easier qualification to meet the needs of this current interest rate environment. Now, however, there are things to consider. Co-owners still face potential risks, right? Disputes over financial matters can and will strain previously strong relationships, and unexpected opportunities or setbacks within these individuals can send co-owners down divergent paths. Mitigating these risks is possible, but it requires careful planning and commitment to open and honest communication. So the first thing you should really be considering is a solid legal foundation. In the article we're interviewed, we talk about what you should be doing, and regardless of your familiarity with the potential co-buyer, it is crucial to establish a legally binding co-ownership agreement before proceeding too far in the process. Now, according to most legal experts, a co-ownership agreement isn't meant to govern relationships or dictate daily decisions. Instead, it should be seen as a tool for setting expectation and addressing potential issues in the future. Because trust me, issues do arise in co-ownership when ownership of a property is joint. A successful agreement is one where all parties consider the possibilities that their relationship might no longer work and decide on what should happen in such a scenario. Your co-ownership agreement should be prepared with the assistance of a lawyer who has the insight to go over some of the potential pitfalls and should address critical elements, which are including some of the following: ownership structure, determining who owns what share of the property and how future equity will be assessed and distributed potentially if the property is sold, right? 2, financial contributions, identifying who's providing the down payment, what is the percentage, and how they will recoup their investment if the property is sold. So who's putting in what and what do they get back if the property goes up in value or even if the property goes down in value. 3, future capital expenditures, assigning responsibility for renovations, bills, and other property related costs. Now, depending on the type of property, what are some of the maintenance things that are going to be required and who is paying for you pulling together money for a slush fund. 4, liquidity provisions, outlining the plan in case one or more owners wishes to sell while the others do not. Do they have the extra capital? Were they able to qualify potentially on their own if one person was to be removed down the road? Now, number 5, decision-making mechanisms, establishing the process for making decisions regarding the property and whether all co-owners have equal say, right? So making sure that each individual is not left out and that each one can actually put their say in, maybe like a general vote for decisions. Now, for distant co-ownership relationships, such as those involving, unrelated property investors engaged in a joint venture, more detailed co-ownership agreements are often necessary. So if you're not very familiar with that person, maybe you're doing this for the first time, you do need to have effective practices and prioritize effective communication. This is really, really important. Owning a property with friends, family, or business partners might be the easy part. The real challenge arises when multiple owners decide to live together. While co-ownership agreements can anticipate many of these issues, it's essential to acknowledge that unexpected problems can and will arise. These could stem from disputes over chores, excessive use of shared spaces, or disagreements about room allocation, who gets the primary, who gets the secondary, so on and so forth, right? So effective communication within the household can make these challenges easier to manage. However, not all relationships naturally foster open dialogue. Therefore, it is crucial for prospective home buyers to thoroughly consider whether they are selecting the right individual to embark on this journey. And sometimes if you're looking to get into this process, maybe you rent for short term and then see if you can live together, then decide to enter into a co-ownership opportunity. Now, understanding financing complexities, this is the major hurdle for some, and assuming your co-ownership agreement is solid and you have thoroughly assessed your property partner, there is still the matter of financing the house. Instead of maybe investing all your co-ownership group savings, the entire down payment, a different approach it can be suggested. So particularly when breaking it all up, you may want to adjust those contributions for the down payment to determine ownership percentages equally. It may be beneficial to qualify each person with the minimum possible down payment, ensuring that all co-owners feel that they have contributed equally. This approach can minimize the inequality amongst other co-owners because everybody contributed the same percentage, maybe 5% each or 10% each. So in cases where additional capital is necessary to qualify the mortgage, making a larger down payment may be preferable to rates and so on and so forth. Lenders assess each co-owner's debt, income, and credit score, often focusing on all the individuals collectively to determine whether or not this is a viable option. Now, although some lenders, depending on the scenario, may evaluate individuals over the group, it is important and it is advantageous for co-borrowers with significant debt loads to consider their situation, especially if they don't qualify on their own for a mortgage. However, lenders may have their limits and one co-owner's credit falls short of the bank's minimum qualification, they may need to be removed from the co-ownership agreement. So each individual should be eligible to qualify for the deal. If one is removed, it may not be that viable. In the event that one co-owner decides to leave the partnership during the mortgage term, the group must notify the lender, right? Or that is going to be a material change, and that may necessitate refinancing the mortgage or requalification of the borrowers, potentially exposing the entire group to higher mortgage rates and prepayment penalties, and the inability to qualify if one person is removed. So you have to take that into consideration, but in the overall look is thorough planning and clear communication is vital. Lining your group's objectives, desires, and timelines, incorporating all the information into a well-structured co-ownership agreement can safeguard your relationship. There are so many different options for individuals that are looking to gain entry into the real estate market, start to build their net worth and their equity rather than pay rent, potentially in this higher rent environment. This is why this plan is taking off not only amongst college students, but individuals that are new to Canada that may be deciding to buy together to help them on this journey to build equity in the home, and then eventually down the road setting timelines to say that we're going to sell the property, hopefully at a profit, and they can take that extra money that they've made and put it towards their own purchase of their own individual properties when they see fit. But let us know in the comment sections below what you think about co-ownership. Is it a good tool to use for individuals? Is it something that is more complicated than just buying by yourself or with another partner, such as your direct spouse or your significant other? Let us know what you think in the comment sections below. But don't forget, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so by hitting that subscribe button, hitting that notification bell so you get notified every time we post a new video. But we'll leave the video here, wishing everyone a wonderful Friday and an even better weekend ahead. Thanks for clicking. Thanks for watching.